Hello everyone, Darkeizer here, welcoming you back to my Space Engineers Let's Play and tutorial series. Today we're starting in the load game screen primarily because I wanted to edit the settings a little bit for the episode for the rest of the series. We're going to go into the, as you can see, we're still in survival, we're still offline. I have the autosave still on. We're going to go into the advanced settings, and I am going to make sure that our cargo ships are turned on, our in-game scripts are turned on. We're going to turn on the random encounters. I am not going to enable the spiders yet. We do have the drones enabled, which is unusual because I haven't actually seen any drones. We're also going to enable the unknown signals so that we may occasionally see an unknown pod or some sort of a satellite fall. I don't have the wolves activated. I don't have the remote block removal. I don't have the voxel hand. I also don't have the tool shake. I'm also going to activate some mods. I'm going to turn on the rover cockpit. And I'm not going to be using this one. There is another rover cockpit, which apparently this one is broken. And I need to remember to turn that off, to take that out of my list so I don't accidentally keep running into it. I'm going to attempt to try the automated inventory sorting, or at least I'm going to turn it on. I may not actually get to that today. I'm also going to take the clear camera screen because I'm in the process of building a mining craft and I want to be able to see where I'm going. We're also going to turn on the light block improvements, and I will have links to all of these in the comment section. I particularly like this mod because it adds a terminal to virtually any light, particularly the interior lights. That way it makes it much easier to figure out which light is doing what. I will eventually be turning on the build and repair system, but I will only be using it for repairing things. I won't be using that to build things, at least not right away. Planet military ground encounters. We're going to turn that on. There's our rover cockpit fixed. Surface occupation, which will give us a few more NPC sort of things that we might run into. The text HUD API, which actually helps other mods to actually work. I think I'm going to try the Dark Mechanicus bus cockpit and see if that works and see what it looks like. The HUD compass so I can have an idea of which way I'm going, and the helmet 3D HUD and reflective glass give us a little bit more immersion. We're going to work with this for now and see what we get. We have graduated from the tutorial part of the series into the actual Let's Play part, so things should move along much quicker. Let's go ahead and get started. There we go. Now I don't think I have the HUD turned on. I don't see any differences in my HUD except for the fact that I now do have a compass at the top of the screen, which is nice since everything begins to look the same. I've accomplished quite a bit of work off screen since the last episode. I went so far as to begin searching for some more material, particularly cobalt, because I knew that I was going to need metal grid in order to build a proper mining ship, and I needed cobalt for that. However, I was almost out of ice, and my original plan, and I think I cited this at the end of the previous episode, my plan was to build a rover and to go out searching for ice and other minerals, cobalt and so forth. But it occurred to me that since my eventual plan is to build a giant crawling base, a large wheeled base, which is essentially a huge rover anyway, that having a smaller rover, it seemed like an unnecessary intermediate step. I had always planned on having some sort of flying mining ship to go along with the crawler. So I just decided to skip the rover part of the operation and go straight to the mining ship. I also took the liberty of adding a couple of more pistons and running the drill out again, and I think that's all done now. The pistons are at full extension, so we'll go ahead and reverse those and turn the drill off. We won't be getting anything more coming out of that. And it requires 2 kilowatts, so there's no point burning the power if we don't need to. I also added a third wind turbine and a battery, which will be fully recharged in 3 hours. I also went out and I actually managed to find cobalt, despite the fact that I didn't have a rover with an ore detector on it. I basically took my hand drill and began walking. And I was fortunate enough that I ran into an iron deposit, and not too far after that I ran into a cobalt deposit, although it was quite the hike, and I'm very glad that I did all of that off screen. Once I had brought back 1 load of cobalt, and that was a long walk, I can tell you, I started making metal grid, and then I started fabricating my mining ship. It's going to be a little different with regards to the design. It's not what I would consider a traditional mining ship. I'm going to use the miner primarily as what I refer to as a plunge miner, which is the fact that it's going to be going more or less straight up and down. So I will probably have 1 or 2 drills on the front, and I may go so far as to have drills in the back. I doubt it. But I will probably put 1 or 2 drills on the front, and then I'm going to have a collection of drills underneath. And the idea is going to be that I'm going to fly over whatever the deposit is, and then I'm simply going to right mouse click to clear away the stone until I reach the ore deposit, and then I will mine out the ore deposit from above. Now I wanted to put in a camera that will not only help me while I am mining, but will also help me when I'm attempting to hook up to my connector. Sadly, I could not figure out a way to properly utilize the battery that I had here. And again, I am not disappointed about the fact that I did all of this off screen, because I wasted a couple of hours trying to figure this out. I ground down the small hydrogen oxygen generator that I had and built a large one over there, and then I built a connector on top, and that's going to be where my mining ship is going to be docking. It's high enough that I don't have to worry about the thrusters melting anything, and I'm hoping I have enough room in between the wind turbines. I don't think the hitboxes on those are terribly big, so we shall see. But I had attempted to build my mining ship around the battery that I had left over from the drop pod, so that I would not be wasting the power cells and the power charge that I had on the battery. Unfortunately, after a couple of hours of monkeying around with it and several failed attempts, I decided that it simply wasn't worth the effort, and I took the loss and went ahead and ate the battery. This one has 3 batteries on it, primarily because I'm going to be lifting heavy loads. I have 3 medium cargo containers, and I'm not going to be wanting to go out mining frequently, so when I find an ore deposit, I'm going to want to go out, mine once very well, and then come back. Now, fortunately for me, these drills have a side... Nope, that's not going to work. I was afraid that that was going to be the case. I had forgotten how long the drills were. I don't think I have quite enough thrusters on the miner. I only have 1 going each way, left and right. However, I have a sufficient number forward and back that I think I'm fine, and I have 8 going straight down. So I think I'm fine with regards to moving around, and hopefully that means this thing won't crash down on me when I do this. And it all looks good. So let's try to bring this thing up a little so that we can do what we need to do. I don't want to take it so high that I have to worry. And now, hopefully, it's not so high that I can't place the thing. I think I might just be able to do it. There we go. And as I said, this is going to be very, shall we say, non-traditional. Alright, come on. Let's get this situated here. I've never built a miner this way before, and so this is going to be quite the learning curve. Fortunately for me, I have sufficient components to weld up this one. And I'm probably going to want to reinforce these, but I did leave a space in between where I had planned to put the drills and the nearest thrusters. So hopefully I won't be burning off the drill while I'm thrusting around. And we need a little bit more, a few more large, Thought I had some steel tubes running. Apparently I do not. One of the joys of going ahead and running the drills out again, I have over 5,000 kilograms of iron, so I can build essentially anything I want out of iron ingots right now. So steel plate, interior plate, all of that stuff, none of that, most of that stuff is essentially irrelevant. Now I need to figure out a way, because I wanted to put a drill forward and put a drill backward that would be connected to everything, just to give me a more complete drill pattern. And unfortunately, I cannot, at the moment, think of how to do... Wait a minute, why don't I... Hold on a second here. I am still making a valiant effort to not use any more hydrogen than necessary, particularly because I don't really have that much. Okay, let's get the armor block and not the other thing. There we go. We need... Come on. Oh, I need interior plate. Okay. Never fails. You gotta grab the thing. And it's only one plate, one motor. So we're gonna grab 10 plates. We've already got the motors. What's the other thing? Construction components. I think we're good there. Probably gonna have to run off a few more of those before I do the drill. But that's fine. Oh, look, I can do that from down here. Good. I don't have to waste any hydrogen to get there. Except when it comes to welding it. And I think I put that the wrong way. I think that's facing the wrong way. Yep. There we go. That's better. Have to sometimes tilt yourself in such a way that you can actually see what you're doing. And now the question is, can I mount the drill? Is that a flush mount if I do that that way? Or is there a spacer? No, I think that'll work. Construction components and a few steel plates. Well, let's take those. Always running off construction components by the hundreds. There we go. Let's see what we got here. Now, hopefully, all of this will leave me sufficient space to dock. And we have our first hostile Some sort of a military Fort Victoria. Some sort of a freighter carrying magnesium and explosives. I do have a lot of the NPC mods that are supposed to give you more cargo ships and more things to struggle with and so on and so forth. I haven't used them to any great extent, so I'm not sure. I do know that if you have too many of them running at one time, it can clutter up your HUD quite a bit, because I had a lunar... Nope, that's going to take up the whole thing. Well, in that case, I'm going to run this out this way, and that's primarily to have a little something extra to hold those drills together. There we go. All right. Why does it look like my batteries are going to be completely discharged? Fully depleted in 27 minutes, 27 minutes, and 27 minutes, and that's with me just doing station keeping. So let's go ahead and get things set up while I'm here. Our first group is going to be drills, of course. And then we're going to turn those off on the terminal. Then we're going to have all of our thrusters, and I am still going to have to add more thrusters left and right just to keep me from sliding, but I'm going to worry about that more later. Connector 2, I don't have to worry about having that on the terminal. I don't have to worry about the medium cargo containers on the terminal. Ore detector gets turned up, and then I can take that off the terminal. Cockpit is going to be our main cockpit. The handbrake command in the cockpit, for some of you who have been watching other YouTubers, it has been mentioned on several occasions that the P key, which is your handbrake for when you are in a rover, is a key that you want to stay away from when you are in either a rover with some kind of connector, or when you're in some sort of a flying craft that you're utilizing connectors and landing gear. Because if you hit that key, then that is a toggle key. It doesn't just activate or deactivate your handbrake, it activates and deactivates your connectors as well. And I believe it also works on your landing gear. Unfortunately, you can't be selective about which one it works on. So I have seen people who have been connected to something similar to the system that I'm going to have, where I'm going to have this flyer riding around on the back of a large roving type of vehicle, a large wheeled vehicle, and the connectors are going to be linked together between the flyer and the rover, and they're going to be locked, and I'm going to be driving the rover, and then I hit the P key in order to activate the handbrake. That will detach the connector, and at that point your flyer may fall. So the handbrake button, if this were a rover and had wheels, the handbrake would not be grayed out. At the moment, it will not function. But the handbrake, when you are in a rover, can be dragged down to your hotbar from your G-config panel. And that is the proper way to activate the handbrake on your rover without decoupling everything else. We're also going to take the antenna and turn that way down, because that draws way too much power. And yeah, we're still going to be having issues here. So now, block tools, we're going to set up our drills, and then we're going to take our groups, and we're also going to have our drills, and this one we can use to toggle the drills on and off. Turn the thrusters on and off. See the view through our camera. This is going to be able to toggle the connector on and off, and this is going to be to switch the lock. I don't need to have to worry about commands on any of these other things. My batteries are always going to be set to automatic. I won't have to worry about any of that. Although, to be perfectly honest, this is going to be one of the few times where I could go ahead and drain the charge off the battery on the station and not have to worry about it. So let me go ahead and make a batteries group. But I'm going to leave these on the terminal so I can click on them individually and see how much power they have. And then we're going to go to the groups. And I'm basically going to use that to recharge, to toggle the recharge on and off. And currently, as you can see, the batteries are on auto. So now we're going to get some altitude. Go first person. Going to eyeball on the connector, and I'm going to attempt to do this reasonably straight. Go to our camera. Oh, it's beautiful. There we go. Little sideways action there. Saw a spark there. I wonder if that was one of the drill heads. Oh, there we go. Okay, and now we're locked. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the batteries to recharge, since I can drain power from the battery in the base, which will be fully depleted in 10 minutes. And all three of the batteries on the flyer will be fully charged in 12. So I'm going to keep my eye on the battery here and see how that goes. While this is charging, I have some other things that I can be doing. We have our inventory. Let's see what we have going on. The refinery is almost done with my cobalt. Survival kit is empty, of course. I'm just using that for a respawn point. I'm almost out of ice. The oxygen bottle I've never used. Okay, now you have to remember, if you're getting out of a vehicle, if you're climbing out of a cockpit, if you had your thrusters on, your suit jets on when you went in, then your suit jets will be on when you come out. If your jets were off when you climbed in, they'll be off when you climb out. From up there, that could be a nasty fall, particularly if I went down this hole. Now, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to take this drill off. And I'm going to drop some steel plates because my inventory is full. And I did not hear the warning until it was too late. Well, that's all right. So we put all this stuff away. I am going to go searching for ice. My first trip is probably going to be for iron, since I also spotted an iron deposit while I was out hunting for cobalt. I got lucky and got a twofer on that one. Nope, the iron plates. Looks like the steel plates went straight through the planet. Okay, well, fortunately it couldn't have been many. I took the drill off primarily because I don't know if I'm going to have to run this out again. And so I may wind up salvaging all of the material from that. I thought I'd go ahead and take the liberty of taking the drill off primarily because if I do need to go ahead and run it out again, I'm going to have to cut the drill off to put another piston head on, or put another piston on anyway. And if I'm not going to be running it out again, I might as well start the process of salvaging everything. Let's see how our batteries are going. Battery on the base is going down. Those will be fully charged in 9 minutes. I actually might as well let me go ahead and do this and pick up some plates. Let me get rid of that. I had decided in between the episodes while I was taking my rather laborious hike out across the countryside looking for cobalt and other things, I'm going to make an effort. Oh, there's an unknown signal. It's going to be gone in 2 minutes. Never mind. At least I know the hostile drone thing. Oh, that's getting kind of close. Magnesium and cobalt. I hope that's not going to start shooting at me. I don't have anything to defend myself with. That's going to be scary. I don't want to try to defend myself against a full-size craft with a assault rifle. That would be kind of one-sided. And that's looking awful big. Let's come back here just in case. Put that away. Let's get the rifle and the ammunition out. Let's go ahead and put that back and get that refilled just in case. And get that on my hot bar. It can't be a very attractive looking craft. It looks something like a dirigible, which that would be cool. I hope that it's a freighter and not a bomber because it's flying almost directly over my head. That would be pretty crappy. It looks like it's about 2 kilometers up though, so I'm hoping 2012 or 2.12 I should say. I'm hoping that its activation range is not 2 kilometers. If it is, then this might be a real short episode and a real short series. 2.11 and holding 2.12. Phew. Okay, I think I'm going to keep the rifle on me just in case, since I went through the effort of actually turning on enemies. I had decided, as I said before, or as I started to say before, I had decided, as I struggle with my gconfig, I had decided in between episodes while I was doing all of my strolling that I was going to go ahead and start laying out the basics to the large crawler this episode. I started working on the design. Gonna have to make sure I build something with guns on it at some point. I had started working on the design in creative mode just to get an idea of how everything should work. This is the first time that I've built a crawler this big. Did I not pick up the steel plates? No, I picked up the assault rifle instead of the steel plates. So let's go ahead and go back. There we go. Fully recharged in 6 minutes. It's going to be fully depleted in 3. Alright. We'll go ahead and take them all for the sake of brevity. And then we're going to try not to kill ourselves by just dropping out of the sky. We're going to press our B key, which is going to align this with gravity. However, as you can see, I'm on a slope. So what I'm going to attempt to do, because if I set this thing up in its current configuration, we're going to set the B key again so that it's local grid placement. I'm going to have to set this up at a slant. Otherwise, I'm afraid my wheels are not going to want to place. And I know from experience that I'm going to want to put 2 blocks up, and then that second block is going to be the height at which my decking is going to start. And that's going to be the bottom deck of the vehicle. Unlike working on smaller vehicles or small block ships where I'm often putting up a couple of blocks and then welding them and then putting up a couple more blocks and welding them. This, I can just lay out a whole long list of blocks, mainly because I plan on walking around on top of this thing while I'm welding it to save ice and hydrogen. I also have a rough idea of how big I want this thing to be, although the version of it that I built in creative mode was not the most maneuverable craft. So we're going to have to see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to have to see if we can improve on the design. I think I'll put this last row back here. Something that occurs to me is I'm going to be losing power at the base soon because of the flyer basically drawing all of the power off of the base, and if that happens, that may kill my connector. So we're going to put that back on auto. Okay. I think we're 760 out of 1,000. I think we're good. Now I need to go ice hunting. That looks a lot better than it did before. So now we make sure our thrusters are still in the on position. We unlock that, and I actually turn, out of habit, I turn my connector completely off so that I'm not struggling against the soft dock that you have, the soft magnetic lock that you have. And as much as I really want to go and get the iron, I really want to get some ice because I want to try one of the new hydrogen engines that we got in the... Uh-oh. I have to remember this thing is not fully functional, and I thought I saw another bogey come up at 700 meters, and that was a little bit close for comfort, but I may have misread it. I want to try the new hydrogen engines that were introduced with the survival update. I have never worked with one. I have heard that they are not the best for actually operating a vehicle. However, that is not my intention. My idea is rather to use them for recharging batteries and such like, and they put out quite a bit of power. I believe one of them will put out 5 megawatts, which is several times what I currently get out of my windmills. And I'm going to be needing a large amount of power on the crawler in order to make it work. Your wheel assemblies do require power in order to make them function. I have not yet determined exactly how much, but I know that they do require power. So, one of the things I like about mining for ice is the fact that you don't have to worry, well, unless you find a deposit that's buried under the ground, which is kind of rare. If you're mining for ice on the surface, you don't have to worry about digging away any crap between you and the ice. You just go ahead and mine for it. It's sitting right there. I'm going to make sure that I can see the altimeter. while I do this. Because looking straight down through the camera at a blank white field coming up at you is not the best way to get a good perspective of your height or your distance traveled. As you can see, everything looks the same, and it would be even worse just looking through the camera. So we're going to do this way, since I just got done building the thing, and I'd rather not wreck it before I get a chance to actually use it. So we're going to turn on our drills, and then we're going to check our inventory, and we're bringing in copious amounts of ice. Seem to have something going on with my... Oh, I forgot to connect up the other two medium cargo containers. Well, fortunately, the connector is directly hooked to one of them. So we're going to do this a minute. Oop. Little bit fast there. I suspect the last time that I had a flying drill machine that had 8 atmospheric thrusters pointed down, I could get it up to about 120,000 kilograms before I had to worry about having trouble with thrusters going upward or having enough thrust to stay in the air. So I'm going to keep my eye on how much mass I have. But then again, since I'm only fully connected to one medium cargo container anyway, I don't have to worry much about getting overloaded, I don't think. Alright, that's enough of that silliness. I have a sufficient amount. That I can now readily recharge my suit thrusters whenever I want. And now I'm going to go in search of some iron, which I stumbled over. And you can see the altimeter climbing even though I am in a downward angle, and that's primarily because the altimeter shows the distance between me and the ground. And as you can see, the ground is dropping away. So don't be fooled if you're flying along and your altimeter is staying the same, but you are not checking your artificial horizon to make sure that you are flying flat and level. If the ground contours underneath you are doing something funny, then you may wind up smacking into something a lot sooner than you think you might. Another thing I have to make sure that I do with this craft is install some lights. Right now, the only light that I have is the one coming out of my helmet, which is, needless to say, not exactly what you call the best for doing something like this. While I am navigating and attempting to not smash anything, I want to thank everybody for staying with me through the series, particularly the first couple of episodes, which were longer than I would have liked, but I wanted to make sure that I conveyed the information to the newer players that I felt was essential for getting off to a good start. Now I'm on my number 1 on my hotbar, which is mouse control on the drills. So now I'm going to right click and we're going to begin clearing away a hole. And I'm going to stop when I'm sure that I have a reasonably good idea of how deep the hole is going to be. Let's come out of the camera and go third person. Okay, I think that this is going to be sufficient. I was worried about the nose of the ship, but I think that this is going to work. Unfortunately, this part of the exercise is boring as dirt, so... Uh-oh. Perhaps a downward angle would be best. I'm going to go ahead. We have another bogey, something military, 5 kilometers out. It's going to start getting busy around here. So I'm going to want to put guns on my base relatively quickly. And that means that one of the numerous things I need to go hunting for is going to be magnesium, since I'm going to need it in order to make ammunition. I'm going to be editing out as much of the skipping around in here as I feel I need to. I don't think you guys need to be watching every minute of me digging a hole and doing the mining. Okay, now the iron deposit, which I thought was directly underneath me, and I wasn't too worried about the fact that it appeared to move once I started. Ah, I blew right through it. There's my problem. I hit it on the one side. Alrighty. I was too far to the right. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to turn this way, and then we're going to flatten out. Here we go again. I think I might have to see if I can figure out a way to have the camera placed a little bit farther from the drills so that I can see what's actually going on, as opposed to just looking at a bunch of smoke obscuring my field of vision. Because there we are. Going to keep moving this by hand because, as I said before, I do not have things properly plumbed. Getting quite a measure of stone. Oh, here we go. I think I managed to get through the stone part. I'm going to rotate the ship a little bit, since the pattern on the drills I don't think is quite sufficient to completely clear everything. And we're getting to the point where we're getting pretty full. So I think we're going to call that good. Try going straight up. There we are. Definitely need more light, that's for sure. Not bad for an initial design. Obviously, have a few bugs to work out, but not bad for my initial design. So we're going to fly back home. The batteries are set to auto, so now I won't completely deplete my batteries on the station. Hopefully, what I currently have will be sufficient to run the refinery and so forth. Let me go back to this. I'm a little lower than I thought, apparently. Let me swing my point of view around and see if I can get a better perspective. Yeah, I'm going to have to move those drills out just a fuzz more. Yeah, that's going to just keep hitting the thing. Oop, I'm a little far forward anyway. Okay. Well, we obviously had some design work to do. We're going to go ahead and turn the thrusters off so we're not accidentally damaging anything. And now refinery is going to be chewing through iron for a while, and I have lots of ice. So that solves that problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and dial up, hit Control and Shift, and then dial up 1,000 steel plates. Now, as I mentioned, this is going to be an extremely large vehicle. I'm going to weld up this block first because this is the one directly over the landing gear. And I want to make sure if I accidentally break any blocks, that's going to be one of the ones I don't want to. And I think I can weld up about 5 more blocks. So I'll just do this just for grins. The crawler design that I have is very extensive. I probably made a mistake going and planning it out on creative mode, because then of course in creative mode you don't have to worry about where your resources are coming from, how long it takes to weld or anything like that. And to get it to where it is on my creative mode version probably takes somewhere around 6 months. So definitely don't want to spend that much time working on the thing. But I will be doing what I can, and the load of iron that I just brought back will be a big help. But the idea is I'm going to have the vehicle is going to be in 2 parts. The back portion of it, the part that I'm standing on, is going to include a drill arm, which is going to be 10 pistons long and will be on an advanced rotor. And the entire thing will rotate up to a vertical, well, I'm planning on it being 45-degree angle. It's Space Engineers. If you haven't modified your design at least a half a dozen times, you're probably doing something wrong. So the idea is to have the drill arm come all the way up and work off the back of the crawler, and at 10 meters per piston and 10 pistons, that means that I should be able to go down 100 meters looking for resources. The original idea was for that tunnel to be a starting tunnel so that the drill ship will be able to get down to the resources faster and not have to worry about digging through so much stone. But again, the plans may change. The front portion of the ship or the front portion of the crawler, will include the docking bay for whatever drill ship that I am using, as well as several automated drones that I plan on using for defense against whatever enemies happen to be about. And as I am building those, I will be showing you how I do those and how you go about programming those and so on and so forth. My hope is to have all of my manufacturing back here as well, so that as the material is being moved off of the drill, it just goes straight into refineries and cargo containers and so on and so forth. The back half of the vehicle, of the crawler, is going to be where all of the mining and refining and all of the ugly bits take place. I do plan on having gun turrets mounted on it so that it will be able to protect itself. And the front portion of the crawler should be, if everything works according to plan, detachable, so that I can go mining and then leave the back portion of the crawler to sit and refine, while I'm taking the front portion of the crawler out and using it either as an exploratory vehicle to find other resources, or possibly taking it out with the drones to stage attacks on enemies, like the one that I see sitting here hovering above me. So that's my plan. I think I'm going to leave it here for now. Off screen, in between episodes, I will go ahead and probably make some changes to my mining ship, like moving the drills out and putting some lights on the damn thing so I can actually see what I'm doing, enough thrusters to actually make it work the way it's supposed to, and so on and so forth, as well as trying to recharge my batteries a little bit. I hope everybody had fun. As always, likes are appreciated, subscriptions doubly so. This is Darkeyser signing off. Have a good night.